Hello everyone, welcome back once again. My name is Nick and it's time for a look at the last 50 games covered on the Commodore Amiga. So this time round it's Amiga Games 401 through to 450. If you see any of these snippets you like, then track down the original reviews and show them some love. So let's get going. And we start this time with the Light Corridor, quite a tricky game. You go through an enclosed maze with this bat advancing forward all the time, and we have to knock this ball bearing or pinball round the different objects without losing it. If we miss the ball and it flies past us, then we lose a life, but every so often you will get codes so you can jump back into the action further through. Then we go through to stage 2, and there's our code, 5400. There are power-ups as you go through, and it's quite an interesting game, also come out on the ZX Spectrum. You won't get too many games like this one. There's Brian the Lion, aimed at younger gamers I believe. There's not a great deal to it, it's not much originality, but the music is okay and it sounds okay-ish. It doesn't compare with the Psygnosis game, Shadow of the Beast 2, but it's not supposed to be like that. It feels a bit like a low-grade Mega Drive game, but I still got a little bit of fun out of it. Brian, he's a lion and he wears odd sort of like trunks. It's got a puzzle element to it too, so there's a bit there to work out. You won't be completing it on your first go. Burger Man, based loosely on the arcade Burger Time, but less fun. It's got a feel of public domain game about it. I'm not sure if it was a commercial release or not. I think it was. But walk over the burgers, avoid getting hit by the Savaloys and things chasing you around, and you're there. Are they Savaloys? They might well be pickles. Each level is slightly different, but the idea is the same. Walk over the burger, complete the burger, give it to some giant, I suppose, then it's on to the next stage. Quite nice music here, and it plays quite fairly. Hyper Viper, a little bit like Snake Pit, if you're aware of that game, or the phone that used to be on the old Nokia phones, those sort of games. But you control a snake, go around the maze, collecting all the bits of food, and don't go over your own tail, or it's Doomsville. Yeah, it takes a little bit of skill, again quite basic, not using the Amiga's full capabilities, but still good fun as well, and I got a bit of a nostalgia buzz from this. Hyper Viper, it's quite a good name. It rhymes, doesn't it? Hyper Viper. Donkey Kong from the arcades. Good to see this finally on the Commodore Amiga, and it plays just like the arcades as well. There's Super Mario, or Jumpman as he was known then. He must get to the top of the screen to rescue Princess Pauline. Avoid all these barrels coming down. It's got 4 stages to it, and once you get to the top there, everything is super good. Donkey Kong, this is right at the start of Super Mario's run, before he got involved in all that karting business and become, yes, that fellow. Santa and Rudolph Do Christmas. Are you feeling Christmassy? Well, this is a public domain game as well. Gets the spirit of Christmas, got some good tunes in there. You control this guy firing stuff. You can either be Rudolph or Santa, but basically collect the presents. As soon as you collected enough, a portal will open and it's on to the next screen. La 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 la, doobie doo dee doo. Have you started your Christmas shopping yet? Well, I don't know what time of the year it is you're watching this thing, but maybe there's another Christmas game coming up as well. Santa's Xmas Caper, so you know what time of year we reviewed these two. Quite interesting, a couple of games. They can only get away with them because they come out at Christmas. They wouldn't survive any other time. Bom, 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 bom. Yes, there we go. Santa's Xmas Caper. It's a platformer there. It's quite a tricky one actually compared to that, but nice bright colours. Gives a good sense of fun. Music is good, graphics are bold, and that's all you need at Christmas really. A few power-ups too. You see Santa's got a force field around him. Tetris, it's a Tetris variant. My favourite Tetris game on the Commodore Amiga is Super Twintris, but this has got good music to it as well. I think the background changes every now and again. You know what to do in Tetris, don't you? It gives you a warning what the next shape's going to be. Complete a line and they're gone. Lots and lots and lots of different Tetris games. You might have your favourite one, but if you wanted one back in the day, then Tetris wasn't too bad. It's quite fair gameplay. It represents Tetris well. It doesn't reinvent the wheel or anything, but there you go. It's Tetris. Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Great music on this one, but yes, it doesn't play particularly well. It feels a bit like a Commodore 64 that came this one, and if it wasn't a Commodore 64, I'd be raving about it, but this isn't the Commodore 64, it's the Commodore Amiga. Divided over different stages. After this one, you've got sort of like a mineshaft stage where you're in a mining car, have to go through different bits of track, which it gets a little bit better then, but it's you versus Molaram. He doesn't got the skill of Indiana Jones here. Gravity Falls, one of those inertia games, a little bit like a Frostbite, but you have to do a bit more. Collect cargo, then get back to home base. The ship is very reminiscent of that ship from Asteroids, that early arcade game. I thought it was quite interesting, this one. Gravity Falls, it's got quite a good name on it. Bump into any of the scenery and you're dead. Later on there'll be UFOs shooting at you like the nincompoops they are, so try and destroy you. Those pesky aliens. Talking about inertia, this is Air Taxi, based on the game I loved on the Commodore 64 called Space Taxi. This is Air Taxi, something completely different. But pick up your fares, get them to wherever they want to go. Either platform 2, 3 or 4 or whatever randoms up during the game, and you're off again. I could play this for ages, up to 5 players, which is pretty good. 5 players all delivering people at the same time, arguing for points and stuff. What could be more fun than that? It's Air Taxi. Joe Blade on the Commodore Amiga, converted from the ZX Spectrum. It's okay to see from a point of interest, but I'd rather play this on the ZX Spectrum than the Commodore 64. It's quite a lazy port. They probably could have done a lot better than that, but it's early back in the day where people that wanted a game that sold well, Joe Blade already sold well on the ZX Spectrum, so maybe they would have attracted a few people there. So it's quite a sneaky way of getting people to like the game and get absolute sales. Obviously, they must have done quite well because it's Joe Blade 2. It is an advancement over the Spectrum version, I must say, graphics-wise, but not a huge leap. There's more that they could have done with it. People that were like the original Joe Blade games on the Spectrum will probably think this is okay as well, but I think I could have done a whole lot better. I might be being a little bit cruel on the thing, but anyway, there's Joe Blade fans out there. I'm not sure if Joe Blade 3 or Prison Riot come out. They probably thought better of it by then, and they probably tested their luck a bit too much. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, good graphically, doesn't play particularly well. I do like the graphic of Indiana Jones there on the right hand side. Bomb, 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 bomb. This is him as a young'un. He must basically go through the whole game, beating all the enemies and, you know, generally being an overall good guy. I never completed this one back in the day. Come out on a number of systems. The ZX Spectrum was quite monochrome, so it's good to see it in colour. You know, some kids might have got an enjoyment of this. I got a little bit bored. Tinting on the Moon, based on that amazing cartoon. Divided into 2 sections. I love this game. One is in space. We must collect a lot of red capsules, which translate as time. Then if we do that, we're onto the rocket, where we must put out fires and defeat people. Got quite a French feel of this there, or is it Belgium? Anyway, one of the two. There's Tintin, this is Dog Snowy running around as well. Look out for the evil guy. I quite like this game. I didn't fully know what I was doing, but I believe it was just putting out fires to get to the moon. Pipe Dream, also called Pipe Mania, is this ooze coming down. That's the yellow stuff. We must assemble these random bits of pipe work and get, you see that D there in the top right, we must get it over a number of blocks, whatever that D says, and then it's on to the next stage. At the moment we've got the whole grid, but there will be things to block you later on. A really good puzzle game. I'd highly recommend this on any system. Pipe Dream or Pipe Mania in some places. Gravity Falls 2, someone's called Gravity Power, building on the strength of the original Gravity Falls, but I did like the original. The ship looks a little bit smaller here, but the idea is basically the same. Shoot all enemies, collect all cargo, and work out where to go. This game would be quite infuriating for a lot of people. I think we need to get through that finish thing there, so we need to shoot through actual rock. So this is a bit of a trickier challenge than that first game would have been. I prefer Gravity Falls and Thrust, really. Hooray for me. Super Seymour, heavily influenced by the game of Bomb Jack from the arcades. It's sort of like okay, we're collecting plutonium and stuff here. There's a few Seymour games that we might look at a bit further on down the line, but destroy all the enemies. Instead of collecting the bombs, we're collecting this plutonium on this particular level. Again, aimed at younger people, I believe, but it plays not too shabbily. I do like those cutscenes between each screen. If you like any of these, check out the full review. Blasteroids, I think it's a second sequel to Asteroids, this one. You've got a choice of 3 ships which you can change between during the game. It's a 1 to 2 players. There's a good soundtrack going for the whole thing. Same thing again, destroy UFOs, destroy meteorites. Some of them have special power-ups within the meteorites, which is good to see. It's a bit of a challenge, this one. You've got several different backgrounds to get to, but the idea is essentially the same as the original Asteroids. It's just a few bells and whistles to it. Locomotion, we'll come to another Locomotion game in a moment, but yes, it's a bit frustrating, this one. You control this train in the top left and you must get the right path without bumping into any of the other trains to get to the station at the end. You can see your progress there in red, slightly below. Sometimes you'll be attacked by airplanes, which you can shoot by firing smoke out of your the chimney of your engine, just like in real life, mate. You know real life? No, I don't think so. Do the Locomotion with me. You've got to swing your hips now and blow up planes. Back to the Future Part 3, a set of mini games. This one it is very, very tricky. It's Doc Brown first of all on this horse. It goes to top-down view after this, and there's a shooting gallery and various other things. Follows the plot of Back to the Future Part 3, directed by Robert Zemeckis, I think, where you go back to the year 1880, must defeat Biff Tannen, or Mad Dog Tannen, and then get back to your original 1985. Good luck if you could do. Not many people would have completed this one, I don't think. Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis is all isometric. It's based on a film that never come out, but it might have been a graphic novel. I would have liked the film to come out, but maybe it's a bit too late here. You must rescue some damsel in distress, I think called Sophia. Solve a number of things, but you know, it didn't really hold my interest a great deal, but a lot of people might have persisted with this one and got more out of it than what I did. It's not one for a quick go for the newbie, and nowadays with save states, you might get a lot more fun out of the thing. John Lowe's Ultimate Darts. Well, when I think of darts games, I think of the ZX Spectrum and 180 and Wacky Darts. The control mechanism isn't really that good on this one. I found it quite hard to aim. It almost felt like I'd drunk 4 pints. But if you want a challenge in darts, here it is. It's by Gremlin Graphics, which are more famous for their racing games, like the Lotus trilogy. John Lowe. Good luck, John Lowe. But my scoring was quite low, so that was quite apt on this one. But it's darts, isn't it? The second Locomotion game, this one's by Kinsoft, and it's much better than the first one. By opening and closing gates, you must direct a number of trains from one station to another, as A, B, C and D, and possibly E as well. Sometimes you've got 2 trains on the go at the same time. You don't want them running into each other or colliding, because then they will explode and you will lose points. But guide them to the right station, and then everything is dandy. You see the letter above them where they want to go. We need both of these ones to get to station A. Panzer Kickboxing is a fighting game. You must progress through the belts, train your fighter as well. I spent a lot of time on this one. It's good animation and good sound. It's by Laura Ciel, a French outfit. There's me getting floored. I need to get up there. The lights either side represent how much strength you got left. Also come out on the Mega Drive called the Kickboxing, but this is Panzer Kickboxing. And, you know, and it's, as I say, good animation, good moves, and you know, a lot of good fun can be had from playing this one. Freddy Hardest in South Manhattan, a rather lackluster platformer, first come out on the ZX Spectrum. I think this game was originally supposed to be set somewhere else, but they've made it in South Manhattan. There's not many frame rates if you compare it with Panzer Kickboxing. It's almost as if it's being played on a different system. But a no-nonsense fighter, probably best to play Golden Axe if you're into these sort of things, but don't play Street Hassle. It's probably level with that one. There's not much variety in the gameplay, and overall I thought this was quite poor. A strategy game, Cannon Fodder. Now this game is really, really good and iconic there. You must direct your band of troops on certain missions. It's a top-down point and click game. Missions would range from shooting the enemy, blowing up vehicles, blowing up cars, and finding certain objects. You have a crew of about 30 people, maybe a bit more than that. So as soon as they've all died, you've had it. If these two perish, we do the level again with a different set of troops. There's dynamite to find and blow up just like that. Batman Returns, good music, it moves very, very fast, but it's too tricky, really. It's a bit too slippery in the controls. It could have been a really, really good game, but in the end it just frustrated me to hell. Again, if kids had it back in the day, there might be a bit of nostalgia there that they'd cling on to, but for me, I was trying to cling on to a slippery pole and falling down, which is a shame, because I quite like Batman movies. I like all the Batman movies today. Go Bruce, go, but you're going to go on this adventure without me. Tiger Road, an arcade port conversion. I could have done with a bit of extra music. It plays sort of okay, but there's a few things missing. Again, it's a bit too basic. It's better than Freddy Hardest, but it just feels a little bit unfinished to me. You might like this game. I particularly didn't like it that much. Go Tiger Road. Don't Tread on a Toad. That's I don't know what that poem was, but it was by me, and there's not too much else I can say about the game. It's Metro Cross. Really love this on the ZX Spectrum. This is a late conversion on the Commodore Amiga. I think it's ported from the Atari ST version. It plays pretty similar to the Spectrum version, but again, you feel the Amiga can do better. This happens with quite a lot of games on the Amiga. Unfortunately, they're okay, but they're not utilising the Amiga strength to the maximum. Whether they're just rushing it out, it had a deadline to meet. But again, it plays alright, but I'd go with the Spectrum version every time because it should have been doing a few more things. Vigilante. Now, this game's not too bad actually compared to Freddy Hardy's in South Manhattan. It's a 2D fighter. You can't go up and down. It's just left and right. It's very, very tricky. Again, I wanted to say a little bit better than what we got, because you do just get surrounded a little bit. It's based on the same engine as Kung Fu Master from the arcades, which had the same sort of level of frustration to it. But Vigilante, you know, there's a bit there. If you master it, you'd like to get some distance. It's got enough to be acceptable. Bomb Jack, the Beer Edition. This is a port. No, this is a mod actually, and a port. A homebrew, really. That's why it's called the Beer Edition. Bomb Jack on the Commodore Amiga wasn't very good, and this one is excellent. It's truer to the arcade version. All the bits are there. I would highly recommend tracking this one down. Bomb Jack Beer Edition, you've got much of the screen to work with, and on the original conversion you were very limited, so it solved that problem immediately. Well done to them. Cannon Fodder 2, very similar to the original Cannon Fodder, uses the same engine, although it's a lot more difficult. If you want to get into this game, I would recommend playing Cannon Fodder 1 first of all, because this one will frustrate a little bit. I got a fair distance, but it's, you know, it's evil straight away, just like Warfare should be, I suppose. It's more or less what you would call an add-on or a data disc to the original first game. Cannon Fodder 2, but you can play it on its own. Destroy everyone in different environments. That's fun. Escape from the Planet of the Robot Monsters, another conversion there. Good music all the way through. It plays quite good. It's in isometric, as I say, different weapons there, but you do get surrounded quite quickly, but you probably need to do your special tactics. You get a number of credits there, but we're trying to rescue Cerebellum from these monsters that are trying to destroy the Earth, I believe, or create a super race to kill everyone, which isn't pretty unfriendly, really. Good music there, a few good memories from the thing. Influenced by Rampage, where you control one of these enemies, there, one of these heroes, and you must destroy all the stuff, all the cities there to find certain bits and pieces. As soon as you destroyed everything or set fire to stuff and burnt that down, it's on to the next stage. You'll get extra strength by eating any of the people. Avoid getting hit by the cannon. We're going all over the place here on different environments. You can control an ogre or this dragon, so it caters for ogre lovers and dragon lovers as well. Human Killing Machine, trying to be Street Fighter 2 and not quite getting there. What's unforgivable about this game is the enemy strength goes back up again, but you're going to keep relying on one move the whole time. You go to different countries, there's two people to fight in each one. After this, in Russia we have to defeat the guy's dog, called Shepsky, I suppose, taken off the name of that dog, John Notes' dog from the old Blue Beta. But it struggles, I prefer Street Fighter 2 miles. Wembley International Soccer. Now this game is good. I didn't know about this one back in the day. Horizontal scroller back and forward. The players are just about the right size to see the amount of the pitch. It's all about passing, and that beeping there, it's telling me to pass essentially. I'm trying to dribble it all the way and score a goal. Look at this. Boof, I did. In your face. Eat my goals. Back of the net. Yeah, it's really good, this game. Focuses on the World Cup. I don't think England are in it, though, I don't think. This is Saudi Arabia versus Italy. Desert Strike, quite an iconic game. There's a series of these, but we've only covered Desert Strike at the moment. 3D over an isometric map. We're on different missions. We must pick up hostages and winch them to safety, blow up all the enemy positions there. But I just played it as for newbie fun, just going around the place, so I died quite quickly. Desert Strike, well worth tracking this one down. Not quite sure what others of the series come out on the Commodore Amiga. If they did, we're bound to bump into them at some point. Great game, this one. Blades of Steel, not a very good game, but if you had it back in the day again, you might have got a bit more fun than me. I found it a bit tough to control. I found it very hard to score stuff, and the players were a bit flashy. You control either a team from the United States or Canada. It's got that sort of like retro feel to it, but I just couldn't score for toffee. Maybe I need a lot more practice. It's got sort of like sounds on it, but I'd go with Speedball 2, which I know is not an ice hockey game, but I go with that every time for my violence sort of games. Skull and Crossbows, very clever this game. Similar to a Golden Axe in its ideas, although instead of controlling some fancy sword wielder, you're controlling these pirates. You must rescue a princess who's been captured by an evil wizard. It's for 1 to 2 players. If you're 2 players, you're 2 pirates, of course, One Eye and a Red Dog. Really cute, this one, quite a lot to do, good bit of variety, and the stages aren't too long either, so I'm a big fan of that sort of thing. Track that one down, Skull and Crossbows. I don't think it's widely known. Really frustrating this game, Bmx Simulator, I found at least. On the Spectrum version I kept getting stuck on the scenery, and the same sort of thing was happening here. It was a budget release though, but I just can't keep up with my opponent. As soon as I crash on one hay bale, I'm there probably for the whole duration, as you can see from this sort of like super clip. I'm almost like driving around like I haven't heard of a bike before on my stabilisers. I'm going to have trouble with this bend. Yes, there we go. Some people would have loved it. It did have a sequel, which I don't think came out on the Commodore Amiga. Fastlane, the Spice Engineering Challenge, moves really smooth this game. I was a big fan of the qualifying of it. Look at this, it looks brilliant, it moves fast, but then when you get to the race it's ruined a bit because it's tough to overtake, but again I think it's another practice makes perfect thing. But this bit, just driving around, it's much quicker than Test Drive 2, which is one of my favourite racing games ever. I would have played this quite a lot back in the day, and I would recommend tracking this down just for the qualifying there. It's a good racing simulator. Look at the thing go. Pengo. Now, Pengo was a game in the arcades. Go! Look at this music. Bum ba bum ba bum bum ba bum ba bum 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 bum. The music actually makes it, but you've got to get these 3 crystal things in alignment. If you're not a block into the enemy, they will die. If they bump into you, you will die. But as soon as you arrange those 3, the screen scrolls upwards, and it's on to the next stage. It moves too fast, maybe for me, but it is very fast. I can see people would have got a lot of enjoyment out of this one. Twin turbos, a really weak like version of LED Storm, maybe. Quite basic. Again, it feels like it's on the Commodore 64 rather than the Commodore Amiga. Probably better in 2 player to use the whole screen. In 1 player, it looks like you're using not too much of it. I played it with a cheat on it because I wouldn't have got very far otherwise. It's twin turbos, and it feels like it's got no turbos in the thing. Got power-ups and jumps. You go to different environments each time, so I suppose it's okay for that bit. Wheel spin, an isometric racing game, maybe a little bit too easy. Also come out on the Amiga 1200, I think. This is on the standard Amiga. Interesting sounds, although it does feel like it's misfiring a lot of the time. A lot of leagues to perfect, a lot of tracks. You would have got your value for money, and I would have played this quite a bit. I prefer Super Off-Road for its arcadiness, but this isn't too bad either. You might not have heard of this one. Well worth tracking down, I would say. It's a bit of wheel spin. Leading lap MPV. Now the frame rate on this is absolutely atrocious. They advertise it for the Amiga 500, so that's what I played it on. There's also an Amiga 1200 version. Now I've got a funny feeling that playing the 500 version on the Amiga 1200 would probably be a lot better, but this is unplayable. I don't know how they had the cheek to come up with this. Always go for Microprose Formula 1 by Jeff Crammond over this one, or play it on the Amiga 1200, which we might come back to and play it on that system, but this is absolutely hopeless, no fun at all. Frostbite, a rather poor conversion of the Great Spectrum game. The characters are maybe a little bit too big there. Again, like Joe Blade before, maybe it's trying to cash in on the success of the original game. Some games for me don't quite work as a 16-bit conversion. Jet Set Willy is another one of them, but it's okay for what there is there, but it just feels like an 8-bit game trying to make its way on 16-bit and being worse than the original subject matter. Maybe the characters are too big for the screen size. Darius Plus, influence from the arcade game. It's an underwater shooter where you can collect power-ups. The ships may be a bit too big for the scenery. I find all these horizontal shooters maybe a little bit too difficult. When you compare it to the best games of Pidgeot, Project X and Agony, it's severely lacking, but a game on its own, it's sort of like okay if you didn't know there's other games were available. Frame rate could be a little bit better, but it's okay. It does what it says. It's comparable to R-Type, I suppose. Geiger Tetris, I prefer Diatrus. It's rather lazy with the Geiger tie-in. It's just using a bit of Geiger's artwork below. The music is classical. I would have heard a Mysterious Space theme. But it is Tetris with a slightly wider board to work with. Get a line and they're gone again. But Super Twinches for the win. It's like a Tetris. It's a, you know, it's a variant, and all hail for that. I'm all for variety. Defender of the Crown, a really classic game, the last in the 50. You must take over the whole of England by directing your troops around Saxon England, building castles, building catapults, and raiding people, and getting the odd help from Robin Hood. I think you have to move quite quickly to get all the territories. Too slow and you lose. Snooze you lose is probably a better phrase, Nick. Anyway, but you know, coming out in 1986, one of the very, very, very early games on the Commodore Amiga, and I was a big fan of this straight away. So I hope you liked having a look at those Commodore Amiga games. That was Commodore Amiga games reviewed on the channel 401 through to 450. If you see any that you like there, please watch the full review and show them some love. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing, because that always helps the channel grow immensely. So thank you for watching those. Until next time, take great care of yourself, and a very fond goodbye.
Goodbye.